sun come out through my door. The waves are so pretty.
Scoot over, I'm getting it.
Intelexx here. Welcome to Lifin with Lex, where we talk about a variety of topics surrounding life, because life be lifin', right? Yes, definitely working out to keep the stress level down, because life be lifin' and people will try you. Okay, but don't worry, because there is one thing that we gotta do. And listen, check the message here. Okay, start each day with a grateful heart. Yeah.
Everybody get in the picture, get in the video. Hey, we out here.
Definitely got to be around the family, but you know, self-care is a must. So you need that isolation because, baby, but most importantly, enjoying life, because you only get one, right? And you know, a part of life is building relationships. Definitely got to have that. And definitely got to stay on point with the learning, because knowledge is power. Okay. And not only that, applying it. Yes, that's right. Putting that knowledge to work and doing the work for the greater good. You heard me? Make sure to tune in and tap in to this episode to see what we gonna talk about today. Oh, y'all back. Y'all back. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Lifin with Lex. It's your girl. Thank you once again for supporting me on this vulnerability journey. I appreciate y'all so much. I do. You know, it's not easy putting yourself out there. It's not easy being vulnerable, especially from somebody that's been closed off forever. So, yes, I appreciate y'all for just rocking out with me, for being here with me, for listening to me. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to come see about your girl. So thank you. We are in season 3. Okay. Shout out to y'all for rocking out for 3 seasons. This is episode 4, and what we're gonna get into it today. Okay. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about A. Okay. But for real, you know, sex is such a taboo topic, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, don't say it in public. Oh no. Blurt it out. Like, it's a natural part of life. It's something God created, okay? And what God created was good. All right. But yes. So for me, growing up, I grew up in a Christian home. So sex was not something that we talked about, like, ever. Like, you know, um, it wasn't talked about. Like, wasn't allowed to be in health classes to learn about sex because my family wanted to teach me at home. But was it being taught at home? Not so much. So there was a curiosity there for me where I'm like, well, I don't know who gonna teach me, like, what's going on. And you know, let me just make a disclaimer. Parents, tell your children, teach your children, so that they don't learn by experience, so that they don't learn by other people, so that they don't learn by the world and by the streets. Let it come from you at home, and whatever they choose to do with it is their decisions. Teach them about the consequences and all that, but teach your children what you want them to know. You know, I do agree that children should be shielded from certain things, but when it comes to the topic itself. You don't got to go into detail like this is what happens and you go here and you do this, the birds and the bees and all that, you know, until a certain age when they're actually able to understand. But at least give them the basics so that they're not out in the world, around people that are exposed to it and they're learning from them as opposed to you. Let's get out of that habit, okay? Because there's too many young people that's out here more experienced than me, and I'm a grown up. Okay, let's get out of that cycle. Let's learn to really educate our children while they are under our roof and not when they're out in the world. But so when I was around, I'll say like 8 years old, um, there was like a group of people that was like really good family friends. And one of them just like came out of the blue and was like, "Oh, are you a virgin?" And it caught me off guard because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know what that. I don't even know what that is. I was so naive and innocent, y'all. Very sheltered, you know what I mean? But I was like, in my mind, I'm like, huh? A virgin? I don't, what? Um, so then I said out loud, I said, huh? And they repeated the question, and I'm like, hold on. So I run in the house, and I go talk to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, what's a virgin? And she's like, somebody that's not married. And I said, oh, okay. And so I went back outside, and my rebuttal was, well, are you? You know, I didn't even answer the question. I just turned it back to them. And it just made me think about how how young I was for one, and how people my age was already into it. And I'm just like, eh. Now, disclaimer, yes, I was sexually abused at the age of 5. So I did have experience in a way, but it wasn't something that I volunteered to do. You know what I mean? That was something that happened that was out of my control, and something that I was exposed to at too early of an age. And it wasn't something that I was taught, it was something that was forced on me. You know what I mean? So I don't really count that because it wasn't voluntary, but, you know, growing up, it wasn't talked about. I didn't know like that's what that was. I knew it was something that wasn't supposed to happen. I knew something had happened to me. I knew I was violated in a way, but it wasn't until I got to an age where I understood what sex was that I realized that that's what happened. But before then, I was a little good girl, y'all. I ain't do nothing. I didn't want to do anything. Honestly, my view of sex was spiritual. Growing up in a spiritual home, my view was I wanted to wait until I got married. Ultimately, because of my abuse, that couldn't happen. But being willing to wait and not give myself away willingly is something that I want to do. Now, of course, it didn't happen that way, but I'm in a place now where it's been a long time since I've indulged. And my plan is to wait until I'm married. And a lot of people, like I had a conversation with somebody, and I asked, and I'm like, okay, there's an interest there on their end. And I asked the question, I said, oh, okay, so are you willing to wait until marriage to be with me? And the response was, oh, I don't know if I can wait that long. Okay, well, I guess you ain't the right fit then. Because I guess in their mind, marriage was a long ways away. Marriage don't have to be that long away. But in your mind, you just decided like, oh, I'm not waiting that long. I want it now. Okay, well, that just shows a lack of discipline on your end because you can't wait months. Like, what are you doing with your life overall that's all you're focused on? Like, I'm sure we all think about it, but My thoughts are not obsessive to the point where that's all I want all the time and I don't have nothing else going on for me. I have to work, I have a business, I have things that I need to do that occupy my thoughts too. So they take precedence over, anything else. And regardless of the thoughts that I have, I'm not acting out on them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like some people just like, it just rules them to the point where if they ain't getting none, they acting out, they mad, they this, they that. Listen, that's cool, but just know I'm not doing any of that. And if you're not willing to wait, that's fine. But I'm not gonna be okay with you being out here with someone else saying that you're waiting for me and you're not. You know, that's just my preference. We all have preferences, right? Right, right. Yeah, so like with me, like I said, where I'm at right now, I'm in a place where I'm really focused on me, focused on bettering who I am, focusing on moving further in my purpose, building up my brand, my business, building Lex up so that I can be my best self, so that I can be in a position to receive what I'm meant to receive. And a lot of times I've heard this too, where sex clouds your judgment when it's not somebody that you are married to. Now, in different cultures, marriage looks different. For some cultures, marriage includes a marriage license. In other cultures, marriage means you all had sex. For some people, as soon as you have sex with that person, oh, we're married now. Even though y'all didn't walk down the aisle, y'all didn't, read vows to each other, y'all didn't commit to each other, y'all just gave each other y'all bodies and y'all a piece of y'all spirits and souls. It all depends on the culture. And I feel like studying culture is something that's big because when you learn, who you're talking to, it really affects how you move. So learning about the person, listen, there's so many people out here who have children with someone that they regret having children with because they didn't take the time to get to know that person. They were indulging in their desires, which we all have, right? I'm not knocking nobody. I've done it too, but instead of vetting the person, you indulging in desires, and then now you're in a situation where you wish you were never in. So many people, like people that I know, people I don't know, they're like, dang, I wish I never had a child with this person. And it could be a male or a female. The female could be like, I wish I never had a child with him. The male, I wish I never had a child with her. Because once the relationship ended, you see a whole nother side of that person, but you didn't really know them to begin with to have a child with them, and it wasn't even something that y'all were wanting to do, or y'all were getting ready to break up, and then you find out, oh, she's pregnant. Now I got to stay for the sake of the child, which, by the way, never works. Okay, if y'all are not on the same page and y'all don't like each other, y'all don't want to be together, don't do it for the sake of the children because the children know when y'all don't want to be with each other. They feel that energy, they sense what's going on. So don't think that just because y'all together and y'all in the same house that everything's cool and copacetic because the children know. The children know. So, like, stop staying together for the sake of children because that never works. Okay. But it's so important to vet the people, you know, that's in your life. So important to really find out who you are, what you need to heal from, all the things before you lay down with somebody. And this is something that I've learned over the years too. Like, you know, um, sometimes somebody can be so beautiful, so nice, and as soon as y'all engage in sex, they turn into somebody completely different because that's what they wanted after all. You know what I mean? Some people put on a facade to get what they want, and then once they get what they want, then they back to who they really are. Be careful of the mask, y'all. Be careful of the mask. But listen, I've had my experiences, good and bad. I ain't gonna go into all that because I ain't that vulnerable now. Like, I feel like certain things should not be discussed. Like, some people go into detail about you know, what it looks like and how it was and the positions and things of that nature. That's too much. Like what happens in the bedroom should stay in the bedroom. You know what I mean? But we just overall generally talking, then yeah. But I feel like sex has been taboo for so long. It hasn't been something that's talked about. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are curious because it's not talked about enough. And now it's like so many young people that start like, why are you 6 having sex? You still a baby. Like for real. You know what I mean? It's different when it's forced upon you, but when you're willingly out here just whamming, you know what I mean, doing the do, it's like, for what? You don't got nothing else to do. Like at that age, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like I wasn't thinking about any of that all through high school. Like, you know, I was an adult. You know what I'm saying? But it all depends on the environment. It all depends on where people come from and what they're exposed to at a young age. Some people had to grow up quick, so they did stuff quick. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not judging. It's just that's not my experience. I wasn't exposed to that. I grew up in the suburbs. I went to, you know, predominantly white schools, mixed schools. I had experienced different culture, so that wasn't something that was really on my mind. I was more so a geek, a nerd. I was into school books, like to the point where even when I was in high school, dudes wouldn't, um, approach me because they said, and I quote, they thought I was married to my books. That's how focused I was. I was not giving off the energy of, oh, I'm gonna get some, I want some. I would overhear conversations from different females about how they did this, that, and the third with this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, okay. They don't approach me like that, but that's because of how I carry myself. How you carry yourself matters, people. Ladies, how you carry yourself matters, right? But, you know, like I said, I am not focused on just being with some random. I'm not focused on just getting my rocks off. I feel like sex is more than just the physical interaction. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's mental, it's, all those things. And if me and him are not aligned in all the ways, where you can't mentally stimulate me, you can't emotionally connect, we can't have a conversation, a deep conversation that goes beyond what's your favorite color? What do you do? How are you today? What are you doing? Like, if it's nothing beyond that, what are we doing? I don't need a toy because that's all you would be viewed as is a toy. If you can't mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stimulate me, there's nothing to talk about. I'm not interested. I'm turned off at that point. Like, you have to do more than just look good. Looks are fleeting, okay? You can look good today and get into an accident and look beat up the next, okay? Looks are fleeting. You need to come with more than just how you look, all right? You need to come with conversation. You need to come with a whole bunch of things. And what I'm expecting, I'm also bringing to the table. So I'm not just like, hey, this is a one sided thing. You need to be this way, and I'm however I want to be. No, we need to come and be equal so that when we come together, I'm not picking up your mess and you're not picking up my mess. But I want to be in a place where I'm whole and I'm healed completely, or, almost completely, so that when I am in a situation, to where it's going towards marriage, I'm ready for it. So many of us jump into things that we're not ready for, and then we get things that we're not ready for, and then now, oh, my life is a mess, and I'm this and I'm that. Mm-mm. You know, prepare for what you want, and if you don't prepare for it, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. If you just like, oh, I'm gonna just roll with the punches, I'm gonna go with the flow, that's what you're gonna get. That's why so many people out here with children, so many parents that don't need to be parents because they're not in a position to be parents. were not prepared. They treat their children like crap because of how they look at the other parent, and the child ain't do nothing. They didn't ask to be here, but you're taking it out on them because you don't like the parent, or you're keeping them away from the other parent because y'all not together. Like, let's get out of that, y'all. The child is the only one that suffers in that case. Okay, I experienced that as a child. I was the only one that really suffered for real. But that's neither here nor there, because we talking about sex, baby. But seriously, you know, something I would have told my younger self was stick to the plan, which was to wait until I got married, because there were, a lot of things that I went through that I didn't have to go through, but I went through them because I gave a part of me away to someone that didn't deserve me. And so now I'm older. Now I'm wiser. I know a little better. Like, you you got to be worthy of me to come over here, okay? And if you're not, if you're just looking for a good time and listen, be patient, wait it out. If that's really who you say you are, let's see how you feel in a couple of months. Let's see if you still got that same energy. I got time. Look, if you're gonna be around forever, a couple of months is a little bit of time, okay? Period. All right. So before we get out of here, I want to um, do one of my favorite segments, which is our mic drop. That's all right. Our mic drop. And the mic drop is know your worth, ladies and men. Know your worth. Everybody does not deserve you. Everybody does not need you to be all up in them, or they don't need to be all up in you. Like, don't give yourself away to somebody that don't deserve you. Don't give yourself away based off of how you feel in the moment. Your emotions are temporary. Your feelings change, okay? For revenge or because you're feeling a certain way. Know your worth and know that that decision in that moment is not worth it. Take some time to think about exactly what you want. Think about how you can be a better person. Think about what that decision will mean for your future. Don't just think about the present moment, because everything you do now affects where you're going. So don't sell yourself short. Know your worth and pick somebody that's worthy of you to have you. Don't just give it to anybody. That's not a good look, okay? Thank you for rocking out with me. Thank you for entertaining my mind. And if you like topics like these, let me know so I can incorporate more. If there's any topics that you want me to discuss on here, if you want to feature on here and share your thoughts about anything, come on in, come on over. Let me know so I can put you on the list so you can drop some gems and we can meet of the minds, all the things. I'm here for it. All right, but thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Share your thoughts, like, comment, subscribe. If you are watching on any of the social media platforms, watch the full episode over on our app and YouTube channel. All right, but until next time, have an amazing day. Awesome rest of your week. Make sure to make every second, minute, and moment count. Remember, you are uniquely designed and one of a kind, so don't let anybody stop your shine. Until next time. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Okay, so keep it real. What did you think? And be honest, y'all, because I really want to know what y'all think. Honest feedback definitely matters, okay? Share your thoughts about it on the Q&A that's attached to the episode on Anchor or Spotify or Apple, or the amazing platforms. If you're on YouTube, make sure to drop a comment. If you want to share a little bit more, but you don't want to do it on those platforms, make sure to email us so that we can share your thoughts on the show. I want you to remember to love yourself.
Trying to level balance out, I meditate all the time. Learn my lesson, turn my blessings into one of a kind. I'm gonna stand up face to face, ain't anything in my way. Mama told me never let my feelings get in the way. I'm waking up like how the hell can I get better today? I gave myself that confirmation, boy, you already great.
Be true to yourself. And when life starts lifing, life back. But don't forget to life with Lex. Until next time.